Welcome to Rise Untold, where the stories behind the spotlight come alive. March 25, 1983. A night the world would never forget. The lights dimmed. The crowd quieted. And then, he appeared. Michael Jackson. Just 24 years old. Standing at the center of the Motown 25 stage in a sparkling black jacket, white sequined glove, and that stare that knew exactly what it was about to do to history. For 6 minutes, the world watched in awe. And then, at the 3:40 mark, he floated backward. The moonwalk. Smooth. Effortless. Alien. It was a move that didn't seem human. A moment that instantly became legend. The world erupted. Millions were glued to their screens. People screamed. Dancers cried. And the music industry would never be the same again. But backstage, Michael wasn't smiling. He didn't celebrate. He didn't feel triumphant. Because Michael Jackson was disappointed. Why? Because he didn't think it was good enough. He thought he could have done better. He walked off stage that night, feeling like he had failed. You see, what the world saw as magic, Michael saw as a mistake. Because Michael Jackson wasn't chasing applause. He was chasing perfection. He wasn't interested in being the best in the room. He wanted to be the best to ever do it. And that obsession, that relentless hunger for something bigger than greatness, is what made him who he was. But it also haunted him. Michael had actually learned the moonwalk from street dancers. Kids who practiced for hours on the sidewalks of LA, sliding and gliding with raw passion. He studied them. Honored them. And made the move his own. But when he stepped off that stage, he felt like he hadn't done them justice. He thought the spin wasn't sharp enough. The slide wasn't smooth enough. The timing was a little off. To him, that performance, that historic, iconic, world-shaking performance was just average. And that's the part of greatness we don't talk about. The pain of never being satisfied. The silent pressure of always trying to outdo yourself. Michael Jackson didn't just want to entertain. He wanted to transcend. He wanted to lift people out of their chairs, and into something bigger than music. He wanted to make people feel. And when you're aiming that high, sometimes even perfection feels like failure. But here's the truth. That night, in just a few seconds, Michael Jackson didn't just change the course of his career, he changed the entire world of music and performance. He didn't just moonwalk. He time-traveled. He became a symbol of possibility. Of creativity. Of daring to be different. And all while feeling disappointed. That's the price of being a visionary. Of seeing the world through a lens no one else understands. The crowd gave him a standing ovation. Critics called it iconic. Dancers studied it for decades. But Michael? He went back to the mirror, to rehearse again. To try harder. To be better. He was already a king. But he wanted to be a legend. And the most tragic part? He never really saw what we saw. The genius. The soul. The revolution. Because when you're Michael Jackson, you don't get to rest on your legacy. You build it. Brick by brick. Beat by beat. He once said, "I'm never pleased with anything. I'm a perfectionist. It's part of who I am." And maybe that's why we still talk about him today. Because he never settled. Not even when the world was at his feet. So the next time you feel like your best wasn't enough. The next time you look at something you've poured your heart into, and still feel like you failed. Remember that the greatest entertainer of all time, once walked off stage feeling defeated. And yet, that moment became eternal. You don't have to feel perfect to create something unforgettable. You just have to keep going. Michael Jackson moonwalked into history that night. Not because everything went right. But because he had the courage to show up. Even when he didn't feel ready. Even when the lights felt too bright, the stage too big, the expectations too heavy. Even when the voice in his head whispered, "You're not enough." He showed up anyway. With shaking hands inside a glittering glove. With doubts buried beneath a dazzling smile. He walked forward when everything inside him wanted to run. That's not just performance. That's bravery. Because real courage doesn't always look like power. Sometimes, it looks like someone standing in the spotlight, while quietly battling their own shadow. He didn't feel perfect. He didn't even feel proud that night. He felt disappointed. Because he thought he could have done better. And still, he showed up. Still, he gave the world something it had never seen. Still, he danced like something inside him needed to be free. Because sometimes, greatness isn't about being flawless. It's about being fearless, in your imperfection. And maybe that's what we get wrong about legends. We think they always felt ready. We think they were always confident. We imagine they stepped into the moment knowing they were made for it. But the truth is, sometimes, they were just as scared as we are. Just as uncertain. Just as human. They just didn't let that stop them. Because the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often just one choice. To keep going anyway. To trust that the feeling of not enough isn't the end, it's just the beginning of something real. Michael Jackson didn't walk onto that stage feeling like a king. He walked on feeling like a kid with a dream and 1,000 insecurities. But he walked anyway. And in doing so, he changed the world. Not because the moment was perfect. But because he was present. Because he showed up for it. He didn't wait to feel ready. He didn't wait to feel worthy. He let the music move him. He let the fear dance with him. He let the doubt stand beside the brilliance. And that's what greatness really is. It's not some untouchable status reserved for the lucky few. It's a decision. To step out. To try. To risk being seen, flaws and all. It's the willingness to fail in front of millions, just for the chance to fly. So when you think about him, that young man spinning into legend while silently battling disappointment, don't just remember the moonwalk. Remember the man behind it. The doubt. The drive. The decision to rise anyway. Because maybe that's what real legacy is built on. Not just moments of glory. But quiet acts of resilience. Unseen battles behind the curtain. Private wars fought in public silence. Michael Jackson didn't just entertain us. He reminded us what's possible. Not just when you're strong. But especially when you feel broken. Because if he could feel like that. Unworthy. Unready. Uncertain. And still rise. Still give the world something unforgettable. Then what's stopping you? You don't need to be perfect to create something powerful. You don't need to feel invincible to inspire. You just need to be willing to begin. To take one more step. To stand up, even if your voice shakes. To show up, even if your heart aches. Because greatness doesn't come from feeling ready. It comes from refusing to quit. It comes from the fire you build in the dark. From the courage to rise after you fall. From the belief that maybe, just maybe, you have something worth sharing with the world. So the next time you feel like you're not enough, remember that even the greatest felt that too. Even the icons questioned themselves. Even the legends doubted their worth. But they moved anyway. They danced anyway. They rose anyway. And maybe, just maybe, that's where your rise begins too. Because if he could feel like that, and still change the world, then so can you. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not too behind. You're just one step away. One breath. One choice. Show up. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. Even when no one's clapping yet. Especially then. Because that's when greatness is born. Not in comfort. But in courage. And if he could walk backward into history, while feeling like he wasn't good enough. Then maybe you can walk forward into your own future with the same quiet bravery. Because what's waiting for you might just be unforgettable. So go ahead. Stand in your moment. Even if you're scared. Even if you're shaking. Even if your voice trembles. Because maybe that's exactly how legends begin.